Never have I witnessed such sincere hospitality and overwhelming spirit of true brotherhood as it was practiced by the people of all colors and races here in the ancient Holy Land, the home of Abraham, Muhammad, and all other prophets of the Holy Scriptures. For the past week, I have been utterly speechless and spellbound by the graciousness I see displayed all around me by people of all colors.
Pilgrimage at Mecca is an anthropologist, would be an anthropologist's paradise, because it's the only event and the only spot on earth that has every specimen of humanity in the same place at the same time, practicing brotherhood and in harmony. It's the only place where I've ever seen brotherhood practiced by people of all races, of everything.
Has this been a religious experience?
Definitely, I went because of my religious beliefs, and I think that I have a better understanding of my religion. I was a state guest while I was there for 12 days of Prince Faisal, who was the present leader of the government. He made everything available to me to give me every opportunity to get a better understanding of the religion of Islam. When I first got there, I was in a compound because it wasn't known that I was there. And once they found out I was there, they put me in a suite at the Jeddah Palace Hotel, gave me a car with a chauffeur and a mutawif who could speak Arabic and take me wherever I wanted. I could go back and forth between Mecca and Jeddah every night if it was my desire. I have never been given more hospitality and treated with more brotherhood than I was treated in Arabia by the Muslims there.
Allah placed me in the right hands. Everywhere I turned, someone was offering to help me.
Contrary to popular held beliefs that Malcolm's pilgrimage to Mecca in 1964 had been his very first encounter with Muslims in the Middle East, the fact remains that Malcolm had already traveled to Saudi Arabia as an envoy of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam in as early as 1959. However, it was only during his return to the sacred land in 1964 that Malcolm X would eventually perform the Hajj pilgrimage. Malcolm was now free to interact with the people there, not as an ambassador of the Nation of Islam, but as a free-thinking man who was no longer seeing the world through the polarizing lenses of racial segregation. Between April 21st to April 30th, 1964, Malcolm was hosted and honored by Crown Prince Faisal of Saudi Arabia, who designated an official state visitor's permit for Malcolm X and had assigned him the very best accommodation at the Jeddah Palace Hotel, complete with a private chauffeur who was instructed to drive Malcolm back and forth between Jeddah, Mecca and Medina according to Malcolm's wishes. Malcolm X was even invited to spend the final days of Hajj with Crown Prince Faisal and a prestigious gathering comprised of prime ministers, royalty and dignitaries from all over the Muslim world. Malcolm was included in this exclusive gathering as the Imam and representatives of the Muslims in America. Upon his return to the United States, Malcolm X stunned the American press when he openly and unreservedly renounced all of his previously held beliefs about white people being devils. He credited his change of perspective to his newfound faith in Islam and to the real-life experiences that had shaped his attitude following his interaction with Muslims from all ethnicities in Mecca. Malcolm X spoke very highly of the Arab generosity and hospitality with which he had been honored by Crown Prince Faisal and all of his ministers.
I think a lot of people confused by the new Arabic name, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz.
I've always had the name on my passport, Malik El-Shabazz, I only used it in the Muslim world. Well, Hajj is a title that is given to any Muslim who makes the pilgrimage to Mecca during the official Hajj season.
Well, will you now use Shabazz and drop X?
I'll probably continue to use Malcolm X and I'll probably use it as long as the situation that produced it exists.
As for the allegations that the Saudi administration was simply using Malcolm's presence in Mecca as a marketing campaign to gloss over their own racism, what is not mentioned by such critics was what Malcolm wrote in his own travel journal, detailing a private meeting that had been requested on the day in which he was due to leave Saudi Arabia and travel to Africa. According to Malcolm's own testimony, Crown Prince Faisal sent an urgent message to Malcolm X requesting that he delay his departure by 1 day in order for the two of them to meet a final time and discuss certain matters. Malcolm X expressed his uncontainable excitement at the prospect of meeting the prince once more, writing that he would have gladly stayed an additional year if necessary. The following day, Malcolm received a private visit from Crown Prince Faisal in person, explaining the reason for the meeting and reassuring Malcolm that his invitation to the kingdom and the generosity with which he had been accorded were born of genuine goodwill and that there were no ulterior motives. Crown Prince Faisal then seized the opportunity to learn from Malcolm by consulting him about certain news reports he had read regarding the beliefs and practices of the Nation of Islam. Prince Faisal was interested in getting the information directly from Malcolm X, rather than relying on the American press. When Malcolm X explained the theology and practices of the Nation of Islam, Prince Faisal expressed deep regret over the plight of those African American converts who had accepted the teachings of the Nation of Islam despite the abundance and readily available literature that was being printed and distributed overseas by the Saudi establishment.
My going to Mecca and going into the Muslim world, into the African world, and being recognized and accepted as a Muslim and as a brother may solve the problem for me personally. But I personally feel that my personal problem is never solved as long as the problem is not solved for all of our people in this country. So I remain Malcolm X as long as there is a need to protest and struggle and fight against the injustices that our people are involved in this country.